they get notification as soon as we go on live. I will just talk briefly about LRF and then this event that we are attending today. LRF is Literary Renaissance Foundation, is a non-profit advocacy that campaign for reading culture in Nigeria. We vigorously promote reading culture among the youths in Nigeria. We also campaign for mass literacy and access to quality education and improved curriculum content in Nigeria. And we've started, I think we were registered with the CAC maybe 2017. And we used to go to schools. We still go to schools, really. If you go to our website, you will see some of the programs that we do. We go to schools to go and talk to children about the importance of cultivating a, a conscientious reading culture. We try to catch them young. We give them books as we have supply of books. We also give them pens and stationaries too, and then we talk to them generally about the importance of reading, because reading is at the bedrock of national development, personal development, then translating to national development and global development, because readers are leaders, as the saying goes. And then we also organize this monthly book reading where we invite authors of Nigerian extraction from different parts of the world. We've had authors from all over the place coming to read the works to us. Then we listen critically, and then we critique the work. Critique not in a negative way, but we appreciate what they've done, and we offer constructive criticisms and suggestions that would improve the current writing if they have to do another edition, or the subsequent writings when they have to also produce more works. So we just gather and then we listen to them reading their own books in their own voices, because most of the time you don't hear the authors reading their works in their own voices. So it's always refreshing to hear the author's own voice, as they change in their tones and then try to communicate what we're trying to pass across to us in the audience. And then we also have a program we do every quarter. First Saturday of the quarter is called Reading Culture Dialogue. Um, it's a civic engagement, public deliberative dialogue where we invite stakeholders around the education, learning, and curriculum in Nigeria, students, parents, administrators, and other stakeholders to come and talk, even government officials. We've had people from Ministry of Education, Ministry of Science and Technology, even ASU officials coming to. We discussed some of these issues that affect education in Nigeria, and then we try to profile solutions from those stakeholders or citizens' perspectives. We've been doing that. We had the one for this quarter last month, January, and the next one is going to be April, first Saturday of the month, in the month of April. So, and what we also do after that, we are passing some of the recommendations, some of those discussions, we are sharing them with government officials, those in the Senate, Senate Committee on Education, House of Rep Education, Committee on Education, Ministry of Education themselves, state boards, all those who are stakeholders and administrators and officials in our education sector and curriculum development. So we just want them to see what are people saying about some of these issues, particularly the quality of education that our children, our pupils are receiving. How can it be improved on? How can it be better? And then I didn't mention that we are strongly aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal Agenda 4, which is to ensure that every human being have access to quality education. Quality education is a fundamental right of every human being, and that they are provided with opportunities for lifelong learning. So they just have access to schools, go to schools and be educated, but they should also have opportunities for lifelong learning after school, at work, or wherever they find themselves. And this is one of those opportunities or those platforms that we are promoting as an organization. And I want to say welcome to every one of you for joining us today. I think the next item on the list will be hearing the author's profile. I don't know the person that is supposed to read that to us today. So the author's profile, let's get to meet our author for today, for this month, February 2025. Who is doing that for us, please?
Good evening. I'm the one.
Okay, please read.
The author's name is Sam Okonkwo, CMO, and she is an HR professional by day and an award-winning storyteller by night. She holds 3 degrees from France, a BSc in Business Management, an MSc in Personnel and Employment Management, and an advanced MSc in International HR Management and Development, and has self-published over 40 books across diverse genres, including literary fiction, science fiction, crime, fantasy, romance, erotical, and non-fiction. Her talents have earned her critical acclaim, with wins and nominations in prestigious competitions like the Africa Book Club Short Story Competition, Kuramo Writers Prize, African Writers Award, and Wattpad Short Story Contest. Her works have appeared in publications such as Lit Arts Magazine, Spring NG Eros Anthology, and the PEN Nigeria Anthology. An active member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, International Thriller Writers, and PEN Nigeria. She served as secretary from 2020 to 2022 of the Association of Nigerian Authors, Lagos chapter, and she's committed to fostering both literary and HR communities. She builds connections among writers, readers, and HR practitioners. Drawing from her experiences, she has learned to balance her profession as the HR with her passion, creative writing, by leveraging processes. She curates workshops in both fields to help business and individuals appreciate the importance of structured processes, bringing productivity and creativity into their daily lives. I present to you CMO Okonkwo.
Thank you very much for that profile, and it's nice to meet our author for today. So the way it's going to run would okay, somebody's raising their hand. Okay, okay, we would allow you to read some excerpts of your work to us for some minutes, then we'll pause and then take questions, reactions from the audience, and then get a response from you. Then we'll still do another round of reading, and then audience can also respond either to the new set of reading or the previous ones, or generally as the case may be. And if time permits, then we can take a third round of reading for tonight. So you have the mic now, please. I don't know, do you want to share screen, or are you ready from?
No, that's fine. I'll just do the reading for everyone.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babs. Thank you everyone for joining in. So I'll be reading from a novelette that's titled Where Lonely Hearts Meet. So when I was asked to choose one of my stories or books to read from, I was a bit confused because I didn't know which one to read from. So I chose this one because it's the latest. I self-published it last year, December. It was part of my goals for last year. So it's a trilogy. We were supposed to be 3 standalone stories, but I ended up making them interconnected. So you'd have to read the first one, then the second and the third to appreciate the whole story. So the first one is titled Where Lonely Hearts Meet. The idea came up in 2021 and it materialized last year. So I'll start. Chapter 1 is titled Where Lonely Hearts Meet. Lagos, Monday, May 31st, 2021. The morning sun was already up, casting a harsh glare through the blinds of their bedroom. Fela squinted as he sat on the edge of the bed, silently pulling on his socks. His wife, Titi, lay under the covers, scrolling through her phone. There was a time when they would have talked at this hour about the day ahead or something inconsequential. But lately, silence had filled the spaces between them like a thick fog. Fela couldn't pinpoint where it had started. Perhaps it was after the baby they never had, or maybe it was just life itself. The passing days seemed to wash over them like waves, slowly eroding something deep within him. He cleared his throat as if that would break the wall between them. "I'm heading out," he said, grabbing his wallet and keys from the bedside drawer. Titi murmured, her eyes never leaving her screen. She always gave that same half-mumbled response, barely a word. It left a bitter taste in his mouth, and this morning was no different. Outside, Fela could feel the Lagos heat already creeping into the air. The neighborhood was alive with its usual morning sounds of distant yet continuous honking of cars, vendors setting up their stalls, and children holding hands and hurrying to school with their school bags slung over their heads. Fela walked towards his car, the same Toyota he had driven for years and refused to part with. He slipped behind the wheel. As he started the engine, the silence of home still clung to him, tightening its grip. He drove off, his thoughts circling back to his house and the woman who slept beside him but seemed miles away. At work, the usual noise and chatter of the office did little to lift Fela's spirits. His mind drifted, barely focusing on the spreadsheets and client emails that clustered his screen. Like clockwork, he sorted through all he had to do without putting his heart into it. Even lunch break wasn't a respite. He sat in the small cafeteria with his colleagues, nodding along to their conversations, but barely contributing. "Have you guys heard of that new site?" Kunle, one of the younger guys in the office, said suddenly. "What site?" another colleague asked, looking up from his jollof rice. "You've come again with your stories." "This is not a story, it's real," Kunle grinned, leaning in as though sharing a secret. "It's called Where Lonely Hearts Meet. A few friends of mine are on it. It's for people who, aren't exactly finding what they want in life." The jollof rice guy scoffed. "Sounds like a glorified hookup site where people go to get some extra something. Is it for married or singles?" "It's for lonely hearts." "So it can be for married people?" Kunle hissed. "Oga, eat your jollof rice. It's getting cold." Everyone burst into laughter. Everyone except Fela. The curious man's questions had struck a nerve. "Don't worry about my jollof rice. I just need to know if it's for real or for extra." "No, this site is not like that," Kunle insisted. "It's for genuine lonely hearts. If you need a friend or a lover, Explain genuine lonely hearts." "This guy, leave me alone. If you don't know what I mean, then it's not for you." "It cannot be for me." The jollof rice guy laughed, flashing his left hand and wiggling his wedding band. "Me and lonely cannot relate. I was just asking for a friend." Another round of laughter erupted. Fela kept his expression neutral, though the words hit him harder than they should have. Kunle and the others continued bantering, but Fela's thoughts wandered. A site for lonely hearts? It felt a bit too convenient. It was too perfect a description for how he had been feeling for months. "What kind of people are on this site?" someone else asked. "If it's only lonely people, then it will be boring." "No, there are all kinds of people there," Kunle said, laughing. "You wouldn't believe the stories I've heard. Some extra something can never be boring." The conversation faded into the background again, but Kunle's words kept echoing in Fela's mind. Where lonely hearts meet. So that's it for my reading from the first part. I'll take any comments, any questions, any contributions. Thank you.
Well, that's a good way to actually just whet our appetite. And we actually are all enthralled that we would like to know more. So over to the audience now. Please, who has a question, who has a comment, observation that you would like to ask of or share with our author for today?
From my own end, I'll just say she should continue because, like, just go, but please.
Well, we've got to go to that place so that we can all get to see where the place, or get to know where the place is. Okay, so any other person that is on this train of, please continue.
Yeah, I particularly like her vivid descriptions. Makes me feel like I'm part of the story.
Yeah.
I like especially that description about two people on the beds, yet so far apart. And I really appreciate her use of words.
Thank you. Any other person? Okay, I think there are some comments dropping from those who are shy to talk. Deborah actually just gave you 4 rounds of applause. And they said, glorified hookup site got me laughing. And Fumi said, wow, I'm super curious, just like every one of us. So we'd like to know, please, I don't know, any other person willing to talk, or we just delve back into this narrative and as sort of guides us to where lonely hearts really meet. The Jollof guy, the Jollof rice guy, my guy. Okay, yes, yeah. Please just continue with the reading so that.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So I'll finish this first chapter and then we can have a little bit of discussion around it. Okay, so that night, Fela lay in bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling. Titi was next to him, but it felt as though an invisible barrier separated them. She had long since turned her back to him, her phone illuminating her side of the room in cold blue light. The night promised protraction due to a power outage in their compound that was going to be fixed the next day, and the bedroom was rapidly losing its coolness. Fela shifted, trying to find a comfortable position. He wasn't sure if it was the heat or the thoughts of the new website swirling in his head that kept him awake. He glanced at Titi again. They hadn't had a proper conversation in weeks, not about anything that mattered anyway. She barely seemed to notice him anymore, and in return, he found it harder and harder to reach out to her. He almost spoke to her, but stopped himself. Instead, he reached for his phone. He hesitated for a moment before typing into the search bar, "Where Lonely Hearts Meet." His pulse quickened as the results loaded. He turned his head to check if Titi was looking, but she wasn't. She didn't seem to care. He returned to his phone. There it was, just as Kunle had described, a dating website for people like him, people who were definitely missing something, but weren't sure what. He stared at the screen, guilt tugging at him. He knew he shouldn't be doing this, but the lure was strong, too strong to ignore. Just a look, he told himself, just to see what it's about. He searched for the sign up button and clicked it. In the name field, he began to type Fela, but stopped abruptly. What was he thinking using his real name on a dating website? Yes, there were probably more than 1,000 Felas in the world and on the site, but he didn't want to be one of them. He didn't want to be found. He deleted his entry, then typed restless heart. Next, the bio section asked him to describe himself. He wanted something no one would resist. After a few moments of thought, he wrote, a skilled professional trying to find balance, passionate about the things that make life feel alive, outdoors, arts, and the occasional great conversation. Searching for something I can't name, but hope to find someday, because sometimes you don't know what you're searching for until you can't find it anymore. It was a complex bio, but that was unfortunately the truth about him. He entered Lagos as his location, and when the gender field appeared, he initially selected prefer not to say, but after a moment's hesitation, he switched to male. He didn't want to attract the wrong gender by any chance. There, it was complete. A profile avoiding any mention of his real name or details that might give him away. It was safer that way. After all, he was still married, even if he didn't feel like it anymore. When he clicked submit, the page prompted him to add an avatar. For that, he chose a simple abstract icon, a male silhouette with a fading heart on the chest. He attempted the submit button again, and the profile saved. He set his phone down and turned over in bed, his back to Titi. She hadn't noticed anything. Of course, she hadn't. For the first time in a while, his heart raced with a kind of excitement. There was something about it, something about the anonymity and the mystery that made him feel alive again. He stared into the dark, waiting to see what tomorrow would bring. And that's the end of the first chapter. Thank you.
Wow. Clapping for you for such an enthralling and interesting reading. Now we take questions, we take comments, observation, critique. Okay, I think the smiling is mutual. The tweaking of the lips is quite mutual. I'm seeing that Deborah says, "I can't stop smiling." Well done. And then Jafar Ibrahim say, "Wow." Okay, Noble is raising a hand. I think somebody is bold enough to talk. Please, can we hear from you, Noble? You have the mic now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, CMO, for this wonderful piece of work. I can say it is more captivating here, kind of hearing from you, the author, reading it, even if I had read the 3 parts and I was glued to my screen while reading. At one sitting, I had to finish. But you reading it kind of gives it life, a bit more life, I should say. My question is, I know I learned a lot from the writings. However, I would like to know from your inspiration, like, what problem were you trying to solve? What need were you trying to meet in the society while putting this story together?
Wow, thank you. Unexpected question, very serious, but I'll attempt it. So it's more about expression, so personal expression. We're in this part of the world and society where people hide a lot, so there are issues, problems in the home, personal problems and struggles, and people do not get to express themselves. So when you hear stories and you try to write about them and write solution, it speaks to so many people. A lot of people will say that, okay, this is how I'm feeling. So instead of going this route, let me go this route. So it's generally just learning to express ourselves. That's what the story is trying to help generally. So let's speak, let's understand each other, let's understand what each person is going through. So with the full story, when we read the 3 parts, it will teach us more. So this is just the first chapter, but as you advance, you know why they got to where they are. Lack of communication, lack of expression, just saying it the way it is. This is what I am feeling. This is what I need as a partner, as a friend, and then the other person understanding and, coming together. So that's what the story is trying to portray. And I used a dialogue kind of storytelling so that it tells people that you have to speak. So most time we'll work with narration, loads of narration, but this trilogy is purely dialogue driven. So it helps to prompt people to speak. So speak your mind, say it as it is, especially when you're in a couple, so if you don't speak, somebody else will. I hope I answered it.
Yeah, thank you. That was quite lucid enough. I think Linus is also raising his hand. Linus, what's your question or observation?
Yeah, honestly, I would say this is creativity at its peak. Well, but please, I want to ask, does this place really exist where the lonely hearts meet? Maybe we should maybe we should start one organization whereby we take care of the orphans and all of that with the name where the lonely heart meet. People that are abandoned and all of that. Please think about it.
I'll surely consider that. I'll consider it.
Okay. I think Daniel is also raising his hand. Daniel, you have a question, observation, comment, please.
Well, I just want to make a general comment.
Okay.
Maybe along the line, I post a question. First, I want to appreciate CM Okonkwo. Though we have met in long time ago, I think in Anna. I know we have met somewhere. And
yes, Anna.
Yes, okay. I think it's too late. But the thing is that I do really appreciate her work. Even there was a work she wrote one thing about Paris. I can't remember the title, but something like that. And while she's reading, I really captured a line that has to say that the bed is rapidly losing its coldness. It just struck into my mind, and in fact, for me, that is a very poetic expression that I have to go on with and reflect over and over again. The second thing I want to point is that while she was also talking, she made mention of something that to do with the expression, the storyline, which I patiently followed. And it reminds me of what I even wrote today, writing with freedom, which I think we don't have to, for me, from the storyline and from what I've learned from my own story, is I don't think writers should be afraid to express their mind and express society and say the way it is. So thank you very much for that. You just take me back to what I wrote today, writing with expression, writing with freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. I think also, Deborah, I don't know if this, okay, Daddy finally gave it. Okay, so I think she was ready to fella. And then, okay, maybe we'll come to you. Let me just take this other comment. John says, captures the vivid picture of what spouses face when there is a lack of understanding. Okay, so it's more or less chipping in there his own observation based on what we've heard so far from the author. Okay, Noble, you have something else to add, please. You have the mic.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Like I mentioned, I'm new to this community and from a completely different background. So I'll ask a bit more questions maybe than usual and trying to find answers. Yeah. So just like the second person that made the comment after my first question, when you read stories like this that are really captivating, you start to imagine the reality of things and you will think, okay, this is actually happening, until I had to go back and read the disclaimer that said, okay, these are fictitious and purely from the imagination of the writer. That comment broke my heart because I was thinking it's real. So here is my question now. It's also a learning part for me, how you, the professionals in this field, handle such. In the days where we follow up movies, Nollywood and all that, there are some characters that people kind of play, and you see people in the society vilify them, like Patience Ozuko, I think. People naturally think she's a wicked woman, but it was the role she was given to play. And I believe sometimes when you write, people pick those writing and associate it to the author, and in a way see you as kind of the person you're kind of writing about in that manner. So I just want to hear from professionals, how do you guys deal with this for the readers to know that maybe I don't know. How do you really handle that? Because I know people react to writings like that, trying to bring the author into the myths and try to vilify them, especially for certain type of writing.
Okay.
Okay, so I will take that question and I'll call on other authors in the house to please respond. So there's something funny that happened. One of my books I wrote, 21 Days about the NYC camp. You know, that book was something that was one of my greatest challenge physically, because I sat for 3 months writing. I went to the hospital for chronic backache because of that book. When I'd gone for Nigerian International Book Fair, and someone was calling me Oluwafunmilayo. I was hearing the name, and I didn't know I was being called that name. So the lady came up to me and tapped me on the shoulder, Oluwafunmilayo. And I said, why are you calling me that? She said, oh, I thought you wrote about yourself in your book. I said, no, that's not myself. You know, that's just a character in the story. And I gathered experience, NYC experience from so many people that I've spoken to, and I brought it together to put that story together, you know. So it made me laugh. It was kind of interesting that someone would think that that's actually me in the book, because my main characters are always female characters, apart from the crime stories. And I had a reading again somewhere else. Penn, Nigeria had a reading. That was the French book that Daniel had spoken about. And when we're done, they're asking me, so this male character you met, where is he now? I said, met new. You know, so every story I write, everyone thinks that I am the character in the story. And I actually love that, because the whole idea is to make the stories relatable. But I would say something that fiction and non-fiction stories, in every fiction story, there's non-fiction in it. And in every non-fiction story, there's fiction in it. That's what makes it more relatable. I don't know how other authors manage, but I always get happy when people tell me, you know, is this your story? Is this you? They call me names, you know, from the books. I think it's exciting to hear that. So one time I told someone that if I'm the main character in these 40 different stories, that means I must have lived 40 different lives. But yeah, I don't know. Somebody else can answer. I think I've seen one very top writer. I don't know if he's still here. I think he left already. So I don't know if there's any other writer in the house that wants to contribute to that or speak about it. We'll be happy to hear.
Okay, I think we have Linus, who's an editor, and Deborah. I don't know if you guys have anything to add, please, or you have the entirely different thing to say. Please, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, you see, talking about this fiction and so that's where faction comes in for me. I'll say fact and then the fiction. You see, I'll call it faction. I've read books. At the end of the day, I wish I can contact the author to rewrite and then change the ending of the book. Most of the times, I experience this. I write a lot of short stories for myself, but at the end of the day, I always meet people and people think that that's my life, especially when it has to do with erotic, romance, and all that. Just feel as if that's you. Yeah. So most times, authors have double faces, but we just have to just take it and live with it. But that's the beauty of literature. Okay, day in and out, yes, we write from experiences, we write from thoughts, from imagination, all of that. But whatsoever, we still feel like it's as if it's just an integral part of us, because we always find people that feels as if you are writing about them. But it's life that you're writing. Whatsoever you are creating, whatsoever you are imagining, there is someone that is really, really going through that same thing. More creates.
Okay, thank you, Linus. Deborah, over to you.
Okay.
You need to unmute yourself to talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
All right. I said I'm talking about an experience. I think sometime last month or last 2 months, I wrote a piece, a poem though, and it's kind of talking about abuse and stuff like that. I got the inspiration from a video I saw. So when I wrote that,
Oh, sorry, I think network is conflicting. Okay,
Um,
back now.
when I wrote the poem, posted it on my WhatsApp status, people came to my DM and was like, "Are you okay? Are you sure?" Like it was, I had to delete it because I was not feeling like you guys should calm down. It's not about me. I even had to ask like a friend. I'll be like, okay, I'm the kind of person that personalizing my write up. Like I always want to feel it. So
Yeah.
sometimes when I write an article, a poem or something, I just put I there, just personalize it, and people will be like, "Are you okay?" Those kind of questions. It's funny, and sometimes I just like, well, it is what it is, and continue. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that, Deborah. Daniel, you're raising your happy hand again. Let's hear you, please.
Okay. Well, I want to appreciate CM Okonkwo for the second time. Even though I know that it's still exhaustive to be saying it, but it reminds me of what we are discussing now about fiction and non-fiction and the ability of writers to create things. It reminds me of Ian Foster when he said that historians record, but novelists create. And the beauty of that to me is that, of course, it's a very short phrase, but a very powerful and instructive phrase. It means that, to me, fiction is one of the most powerful instruments that have not been exhaustive. I mean, in terms of seeing the beauty of it. Of course, it has its own shortcomings, but fiction is an instrument of projecting what might possibly happen. Of course, I love movies like J.J. R.R. Martin's his book Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon is fiction. And what I read about him was that after his first book, Game of Thrones, for like 20 years, he went on isolation, didn't write any book until when he came with this title, people now begin to make reference to him and everything. What I have learned in my own writing ability is that I can pick a fact around me and recreate it to become fiction. That a character might be seeing his line, might be seeing himself in that storyline. Novel yet, but I have a lot of stuff that has to do with that. But what I'm trying to say is that the power of fiction is something that the writer should explore, especially when it's a creative fiction, because you give a lot of dynamism to the work, create so many scenes and so many beautiful parts of it. So creative writing, I think for me, is one of the future that writers also have to explore, and it has so much potential in terms of using words to describe, project, and even make somebody to think ahead of 20, 30 years what might possibly happen. And that is how science fiction also came about. So creative fictional writing is one of the best instruments. So I really appreciate CN Okonkwo work. It's nice. It's a good storyline. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for that very detailed critique. Anyone willing else to talk, to contribute, critique, suggestion, question? We can take them. No one? Okay, I think we can still take another round of reading, if you don't mind. Final one, anyway, before we take the closing comments and whatever observations anybody wants to share with us.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the questions. At least they've gotten all of us to speak. So for the next reading, I'll go into the second part. Second part is titled Where We First Met. I know it's, let me say it's important to read the first part first before moving to this one, but I'm sure that when you read both parts, you would, appreciate and understand why we have come back 10 years earlier. So the first chapter in the second part is titled Up on the Balcony, and this happens 10 years earlier. Lagos, Friday, April 27th, 2011. The sun was up and brightly shining, bathing the campus in a golden ray. Students lingered around, some hurrying to classes, some strolling to eateries to take care of their bellies, others casually seated under trees, enjoying the morning breeze. Fela, a third-year computer science student, was heading to an 8 a.m. class with his backpack hung lazily over one shoulder and headsets blocking both ears. His mind wandered as his feet carried him past one of the several female hostels on campus, notorious for making catcalls to male students. No one could escape it. Even with the loud music blasting in his ears, Fela could still hear the sound. And once you dared look up to the source, laughter and mockery would follow. The catcall penetrated through Fela's headset like needle to the skin. And though he could have guessed where it was emanating from, he took off his headsets to check that he wasn't hearing things. And that was when he mistakenly looked up. He heard the laughter and mockery that followed instantly before he saw her. A slender girl standing on the balcony of the first floor and holding a mirror up in admiration of herself. She had a ponytail hairstyle and the head shone as if she had just made the hair. She did not partake in the laughter or mockery. It seemed as if she was more interested in herself. Fela replaced the headset over his ears and continued his walk. After a few seconds, he stopped and shook his head. He wasn't going to pretend that he had not seen the slender girl and was not impressed by those few seconds. It was unusual for him, a geek whose goal was to pass through school with nothing attached. But this girl seemed different. Maybe it was the hair, the intensity of her look in the mirror, the confidence in doing it openly on a balcony, which he had never seen. He turned back to the hostel. Another male student was being laughed at and mocked. Fela didn't take the front path. He walked by the entrance, completely shielded by the balcony, such that they wouldn't see him. When he was directly under the girl, he came out a bit and made to call out to her, but paused. What am I doing? He thought. What if she's my senior or someone's girlfriend? What if she embarrasses me and I'm mocked for the rest of my days here? He shook his head and turned around to return to class, but something told him to try his luck. So he stopped again and turned around, feeling like a confused human being. He didn't know if he should proceed or not. After taking a deep breath, he proceeded. He figured that the worst that could happen was him being mocked. He stood directly under her and called out, "Hey." A few people around him looked at him before looking up, following his gaze to know who he was talking to. The girl didn't look down. "Hello, excuse me," he said, and obviously didn't get an answer. Another unfortunate male student walked by and got the laughter and mockery of his life. He must have been a jambite because he ran off in shame. It was only a matter of time before he got used to it. He laughed and looked up again. "Hello, you up on the balcony with the mirror." The girl leaned slightly over the railing at Fela. "Me?" she asked. "Yes, you," he replied, a grin spreading across his face. "Are you lost?" she asked. Fela was embarrassed. How could she mistake his playful grin for cluelessness? "No, I am not." She stood there looking at him. "I noticed you were not laughing and mocking me when the others did." "Oh, I usually don't join them in that, though it's fun to watch." Wow. And there I was thinking I was special. She laughed. "Oh no, I'm so sorry. Would it make you feel better if I told you that I wasn't laughing and mocking you specifically?" "I would know you were lying," he said. She laughed addictively. Fela was immediately blown away. "I like the way you laugh. It's captivating." She stopped laughing and wore a straight face. "You don't need to be embarrassed. You can just say thank you." "Thank you," she said, I wasn't embarrassed, just surprised. Why? I've never heard that before. So what have you heard? He asked. Not just that. Another unfortunate male student looked up again at the catcalls and got the laughter and mockery of his life as well. When the noise died down, Fela spoke. Don't they get tired of doing this? He asked. I don't think so. I've been here for almost 2 years and it happens every blessed day. I don't know how they cope, but I don't think I can keep up. Well, I don't think they'll get tired of it. I've been here for almost 3 years, and from what I heard, it's been on like that forever. She laughed. So I heard too. But it's not all the same set of girls. It's just those who happen to be here when a male student walks by, and not everyone looks up. Really? Because it's been a bloodbath since early morning, especially the last guy who just looked up. Some should learn from experience. His face is familiar. He walks by our hostel at least 5 times a day and looks up every single time, so he deserves it. She laughed. Fela also laughed. I don't think it's fair. There should be a notice that says, don't look up. How are we supposed to know what we shouldn't look up? She shrugged and also laughed. By experience. But you can write to the hostel management. Just don't let them know it was you. If you don't tell, they would know, he said. We are not even having this conversation. She laughed again. Your hair looks nice, by the way. My hair? Yes, I saw you admiring it when I was walking by. So the girls were mocking you and you were busy looking at my hair. I was looking at you, not the hair. I just assumed you were looking at your hair in the mirror. It's nice. Thanks, she said. Is this for an event? I know it's Friday, so preparations for parties. Not really, but then every day is a party day here, not just Fridays. For me, I just needed something new and different, and I think the hairdresser made the wrong thing. I wanted to come out to the bright lights to look at it clearly. Fela laughed. That's funny. It's not funny, she said. It's bent to the left side at the back. The ponytail is meant to be at the middle of the head. I can't see it. You're a man, you won't know. I would know. What I mean is, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's perfect. Yeah, right. Now it's you trying to make me feel better. No, really, I sketch. So difference is beautiful. In fact, everything is beautiful to me once I pick up my pencil and sketch sheet. Wow, that's interesting. I would love to see one of your sketches. Maybe one day, he replied, but only if you promise not to laugh. No promises. Then I can't show any to you. I was just joking. I won't laugh. And thank you for the compliment on the hair. It did make me feel better. Fela leaned back, stretching his neck. Speaking of feeling better, my neck is starting to hurt from looking up at you. In fact, I'm almost dead from a broken neck. Why don't you come downstairs to continue this conversation? She hesitated. Don't you have a class to attend? Fela looked at his wristwatch. 8:55 a.m. looked back at him. Well, I had a class almost an hour ago, and thanks to you, I've missed it. But I enjoyed your company and would like to keep it going. And your class? It ends in an hour. I'll make up for it. Besides, this is the first time I'll miss a class in nearly 3 years. So I'm doing good. And I hope it will be the last, she said. Fela laughed. Well, if you don't ever keep me outside your hostel, I won't miss any more classes. She also laughed. I will be down shortly. And that's how the story of Fela and Titi started. Thank you.
Wow, that's such a beautiful rendition, beautiful narrative, beautiful work of art. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Does anybody have any question, any additional thing to add to what you said earlier, or a new comment? We can
Please,
take.
let's just read to 6:30. Please, let's read to 6:30.
No, we have to go and get the book, get your copy, you know. We actually just assemble here so that we can actually have our appetite whet, and afterwards, I mean, everybody can just go and pick a copy of the book, and then you can read at your own pace, read as many times as you want, and enjoy the work of art. Because we are supposed to also promote the work so that the authors can be rewarded for their labor. I mean, So, any other question, comment, observation? Okay, I'm seeing that there are several. I can't count how many applauses this from Deborah. There are quite many. She's dropped quite a number of them there, and she also dropped flowers as well. I mean, this is such a beautiful work. I love the imagery. I mean, this is a captivating read. I study literature, so and I went to UI, so I know when I see a beautiful work, and this actually qualifies for one. I love the fact that it's very relative, and for the comments we're getting from people, I mean, you've met at various times, it just shows how much of yourself you poured into the work, and that is actually creativity that the readers can actually feel as if they are reading about a live person, not something you're just reading that is above the head of the reader. So it's a very beautiful work. From the little you've read to us, I'm enthralled and I'm very eager to actually get a copy of the book myself. So that leads me to the question: where can we get it? Where can we get a copy of this book? Physical, virtual?
Okay, so for now, e-copy is available on Amazon.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So you can get on Amazon if you want to. Linus, and you can read till 8:30, all the 30 of the times if you want to. If you can just order it from Amazon and, and you'll be fine. I think there are some other comments that are coming down. There's nothing my gender cannot do. Okay, that's from that's another. I mean, that episode about the campus just reminded me of our own days in UI too. We had similar, but this one is even male hostel. There's one funny guy. I mean, you are bound to look up, and once you look up, taunts, torment, all kinds of, so very nostalgic and reminding us of those university days. Thank you for such beautiful work. If it was your reading talent, I just as it's just as impressive as your writing talent. Yeah, because it's one thing to actually write well, it's another thing to also be able to read it well, and you actually combined those two skills very well. So this is a very good reading we've had today. John says, "I'm blushing on behalf of TT." Okay, that also points to the relativeness of this work. Linus, Fela is good with his lines. Damn it, tertiary institution life. That's so me with a particular Fulani lady at Abu Razari about 12 years ago. As I said, also that nostalgic element is also there because I could relate with my own campus experience. He is also relating his own as well. And very, very, very wonderful work. Any other comment? You can take comments if you prefer to type. We will just read it out. Okay, Moses says that we got learn things from we got to learn things from Fela. I think that's okay. I mean, the way, yeah, the guy is very, very articulate, see the way he was rolling the lines and all that. So that's also very nice. And actually the kudos to the author for putting those lines in the character's mouth, because the dialogue is the creation of the author, and that's just a beautiful, beautiful work that you've penned down there and that you've published for the world to enjoy. Any other question as we gradually bring the session to an end today, or is anybody requesting for an encore? Joining Linus in requesting the author does another round of reading, if she doesn't mind. Okay, Noble, thank you for talking. Noble, we can take you now.
Thank you once again. It will be unfair if I just pass on without commending the author. Like, for me, being a purely technical person, reading this work really helps me to connect with whatever what the author was describing. It's a scenario I have seen play out in my university days multiple times. And the description actually brings to bear some of the things I noticed and I did not take serious. This piece of work kind of refreshed my mind for me to actually reimagine what was actually going on about 20 years ago. All right. It made me relive some of those moments. So I just want to thank the author for opening up my mind to imagine things in a broader perspective instead of just looking at it from a purely technical standpoint that deals with data and all that. So broadening one's perspective, the mind, really helps you imagine things that could, the possibilities of human mind. So thank you, and I'm really happy. I'm in this group now, learning, and I would like to drop a question before I go. Um, are there sections for technical writing? Like for me, coming from as a geoscientist in the oil and gas sector, we do a lot of work. However, documenting and in kind of a book format or a technical description of what we do, it's something that nobody teach. I would say in present day, because we're in the business world, we are looking at production, profit, and all that, but we do a lot of novel work. So I would like to ask if such sections exist for purely scientific, technical writing. As much as I have enjoyed this section, I would like to kind of see if anything can benefit us for us in the technical field that we can bring into this community as well. CMO, thank you. Thank you so very much for helping me relive my university days with this piece of work.
Same here too. Thanks
Thank
for
you so
okay.
much. So, Mr. Babs, I want to add something because the comments I've been seeing about university days has just blown me away. Why? Because that was purely imagination. I did not school in Nigeria, so I did not have this experience. As I was writing, and I had to put myself in Fela's shoes, and I was saying to Fela that what would excite you today as you are going to school? And that's how that whole scene came. It was not planned. And I asked Fela, how would you like to meet the love of your life? And it just came, and I wrote it. I know I saw a comment saying that guys will usually do it, you know. So maybe guys would do it, but it was just pure imagination that the ladies would do it, but they were doing it to mock and laugh at the guys. So when the guys would look up, they insult them. So it was not for anything fun, you know. So yeah, so that was just purely, it came when I was writing that scene. It was not planned, and it just came up. So I'm actually happy that it's something that has happened or exists or that people can relate to it.
Oh, sure.
For the technical writing, I don't know if Mr. Babs wants to take that question or if I should.
Please go ahead. If there's anything to add, I can always just add it.
Okay, so the technical writing can go in two ways, I think. So firstly, pure non-fiction books that talks about all the technical novelties and everything that wants to be penned down. But I think that it can still be told in story form. I read books about business meetings, productivity in storytelling form. So instead of the author just writing about how to structure your meetings, how to execute your tasks, he wrote a story about a fictional company with the CEO, the different departments, and he was explaining and living through all the technical processes and everything through the characters. So they would explain in the way that any reader would understand, even if they're not technical readers or professionals, they would understand. One of the books was called Death by Meeting. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it made me start writing books about businesses as well, but in a fun way. I wrote about the construction industry, you know, a crime story that was well received, and another industry as well, the tech industry, and they are fiction stories. but you would learn about the business and the company and how that industry is run in that story. So I think that it's going to be amazing to combine the technical part and the creative part together, so you can tell your stories in storytelling form, and you'd reach even more audience. So both those that are in your field and outside your field will come in and appreciate what you have to share. If you need writing tips, the whole process, you all know where to find me on my website. I hold workshops to learn to write by following the process and writing elements. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I think that just sums it. From LRF perspective, we take writings, creative writings mostly, but just like CMO just mentioned, you can actually fictionalize some of these technical processes, and that is actually what makes it relatable to your readers, because technical stuff can be very boring, but when you add creativity to it, when you add elements, flares, and all those elements of fiction, it makes it very interesting. And we actually receive, I think we've had one of our authors is also here in the US, who has read to us, and actually it was a technical work he did. But because we're just trying to promote as many Nigerian authors as we can, welcome them to our platform, I've not read. And I think maybe was it December, maybe not too technical, our author for December actually recreated an episode in the Bible. That's the wife of Job. That's what was about it. She wrote a whole novel about the wife of Job, because usually we talk more about, everybody condemns that woman, maligns her, criticizes her, but she just came from a very humane perspective, from a womanly perspective. You might put yourself in the position of a woman who just lost all her children, all their fortune and all that. And so when she says, curse God and die, just put yourself in that place and imagine what she must have gone through. And that was the story in the book we read in December. And that is more or less that's a non-linear way, the way we know creative writing, bringing some extraneous element and then making them such a beautiful story. And it was a very good reading. You can watch that on our YouTube channel, on our website. All these recordings are being uploaded there for you to see. So, it's always good to have as many people coming to express themselves, producing work of art, because, that's actually the future. Learning, education is actually at the bedrock of national and personal development. And we cannot have too much learning. We cannot have too many education. So I think Gloria is also raising a hand. Gloria will take you as we wind down our session tonight. Gloria, you have a question, a comment? I hope Noble's question was answered. If not, I believe you have details of Semo. You can always just reach out to her for further information. Or if you reach out to Mary, then you can also get to hear from outside as well. Gloria, you have a question?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Please, your question.
I wanted to add something.
Please do.
All right, good evening, ma. I really want to commend your writing. You write so well. You use very simple words, yet they are so captivating. I could see myself in my school where I studied. I wanted to say that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. The same thing. I'm very surprised when you said that you didn't school in Nigeria, because that actually, though, it was mostly the male hostel, that scenario was the order of the day. Crazy, and it wanted to girls, as they are just passing, just your man, I know I lived in a very rackwurst hall in Jua, Independence Hall. So there's no how for them, those who are going to India, which is the female hostel behind us, and those who are going to, they have to pass through that, and the craziness. And so when I just remember those days, wow, those days of your years. And that is actually the beauty of creativity. And you even saying that you, I mean, reminded me of James Hadley Chase, a British writer whose story were mostly American stuff. And from what I even have, he wasn't even in the US. Yet he wrote mostly about US character and the scenarios. And that is actually interesting. That is imagination. And that is beautiful. It's a very beautiful work. Thank you very much. I want to say thank you on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the management team of LRF for availing us, and even very short notice when we reached out to you, but you still made time for us. Thank you so much for this lovely reading today, for such an exhilarating session that we've had, listening to you reading from your masterpiece. We all thoroughly enjoy it, and I believe as many of us who can get on Amazon would get our own copies of these books so that we can promote this work of art and other works that the author has also penned and published. I don't know if we have a community. If you want to join our community, we have a community on WhatsApp where we just we inform you about some of our programs that we are going to have, and then you get to meet the author for the next month, the next program, and then our outreach. If you're able to join us in any place we are going for outreach, in Lagos, in Ibadan, other parts of Nigeria, you can always hook up with us and be part of that outing to go and talk to these children, engage with them and let them see the importance of reading, and who knows how many CMOs can come out of them as they listen to our representative who are talking to them. So I want to say thank you once again. Okay, I think the link to the platform has been dropped in the comment. If you are not there yet, please, you can join us. We'll be glad to have you join us. And next month, March, is going to be a male author, because also we try to do this dynamics of male, female author. So the next author we are going to have for March is going to be male. And once you're in that community, you get to know who the person is as the date is drawing closer. I want to say thank you once again to everyone for joining us today. Those that joined from the beginning and stayed to the end, those that couldn't stay to the very end of the session, and thanks to CMO for this interesting and memorable engagement today. We hope that maybe sometime we'll also invite you again to come and read to us, from any of your other works, and we hope you will be able to oblige us. So from here, thanks, and have a wonderful month of February and a beautiful week ahead. Bye.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening.